And we are live. Welcome to another episode of We Are Seek and Strike podcast. I'm your host, Chris Walker, and with me is my co-host, Alicia. Alicia, how you doing today?
I'm hanging in there. What about you, Chris?
I'm doing all right. Definitely, I feel like I've watched a amount of soccer in the last couple of days. And then, of course, lately I've been experimenting with my new juicer, just trying to make all kinds of different fruit juices in the kitchen. So,
yeah, I saw that on Facebook. They did, what was it, cucumbers, I believe?
Yeah, it was like cucumbers and apples. It was like I didn't peel the cucumber, so the juice came out super green. And then it tasted like super, cucumbery. And so then I just thought, let me throw all these apples in it too, because maybe that'll help me out. So, and it's actually pretty good. So it's kind of experimentation
to try out.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? Like drinking the juice from an apple is definitely much different than drinking apple juice out of the store. I'll tell you that much. So.
Oh, yeah. I bet it is. It like freshly squeezed orange juice. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm trying to get down with that next for sure. So here we are. Let's jump into our show. This was the first weekend for USL Championship soccer, and how were you excited? Like, were you excited about soccer kicking off again for USL Championship? And we've had so much sports kind of leading up to this point.
Yes, I was very excited, but it still felt kind of, in a sense, kind of weird because, it was Friday, and then I was like, oh, well, New Mexico United plays tomorrow, but, it's weird because it's been so long, everything that we've gone through and that we're still going through, it's a little weird to see that everything's kind of coming together in a sense, but, at least we're getting something.
Yeah, I know. Definitely leading up to that, I was seeing comments on Facebook and Twitter, and everyone was saying that they seemed like they were halfway excited about USL Championship commencing because, for one, obviously everyone's focus is still on the greater matters of what's happening in the country with COVID, and also the protests and whatnot, and all of the different things that develop with that, and so a lot of our focus is on the real issues, right? Like racism and police brutality, and of course, social justices as a whole. And so, we don't want to do that thing that we can do as humans, which is got something else now. I'm going to refocus. It's really ingrained that we're focusing on this. But in addition to that, we're really caring about our players' safety. Right. And so, leading up to the match last week, the governor had a press conference, and she, expressed, obviously, while updating the public health order, she updated essentially that there were no contact sports in the fall. And I remember getting a question on Twitter from Harry Ramencall out in San Antonio, and he was like, well, what is an updated order going to mean for New Mexico United? Is this going to address y'all being able to play? And so I was like, oh man, good question. And then I hopped on to the press conference to hear, and then as soon as there was a question asked, and I can't remember if it was KOB or KRQE who had prompted the question when she was doing Q&As, but she was outright and was like, oh man, she was concerned about high transmission, and she was like, well, the team can't be coming and going, and teams can't be coming in. And I know I thought oh man, well, will the club just basically try to work on what the USL Championship was talking about when they were talking about unbalanced schedules? Will it just be a matter of there just won't be any home matches, and United will just need to kind of be somewhere on an island all summer, just playing in a place where they can essentially play and just quarantine? What was your thought about that?
It's still it's confusing with the way she put the public health order out there, because I was reading statements that she was putting out saying non-contact sports will be permitted. Those sports include soccer and football. And I'm like, well, football is contact, and soccer, well, I can see why it won't be considered a non-contact sport because you don't really get up in someone's face like you do like in wrestling or something like that. But it is weird, but then again I can see why she doesn't want teams coming in and going because they say at the hotel they can have it or they can take it with them or something like that. But if you truly kind of think about it, considering we're not having um any people or fans at our matches like other people are having, like in like the Switchbacks, we just played them. They had fans there, and I can tell you that I was not comfortable with the fact that they had fans there because not only does it put the fans at risk and the players at risk, but it puts our players at risk. And our players come back here and they can go out and get food or something, and then they start giving it to other people. So that's why I think the USL should say, you know what, keep it closed doors and just don't leave it to the owners or the manager's decision at that point. But if it's like that and they're in their own bubble and they're not infecting anyone, so I just don't see kind of like the issue is of the teams coming in and then just straight leaving.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about the crowds being at the match. I mean, we all watched it, where we were sitting, but it was like, I did crack a joke about the fan base being so spread out that it was thin because I know it's Colorado Springs and it can be like that. But in all actuality, like when they panned over to the side where the home crowd sits, like people were like right up on each other. It was like hand over fist. And I was like, man, like you guys are sitting all close. Nobody had masks on. I think there's maybe one or two people with neck gaiters on. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is everything that it wasn't supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be tons of people just sitting all right next to each other. They even actually stated that supporter groups or people going weren't supposed to be singing or any of that. And I mean, there was some singing going on. There was some drums being played, and I understand it because those particles, as the most infamous Michael Rappaport had said in one of his posts, he was like, these particles will kill you. And I was like, that has stuck out to me that, when people are talking or singing or whatever they're doing, like if they have COVID, they could be projecting that. And, particles get loose and things happen. And so, to me, like I didn't want to be a Karen. Well, could you be a Karen? No, you can't be a Karen in this case, right? You can't be a Karen when you're talking about COVID for COVID reasons, right? Like I didn't want to be, I guess, the guy looking at USL while everyone else is in the Zoom call going, oh man, they're watching the game and I'm sitting there watching to make sure people are 6 feet apart and trying to make sure that people are wearing masks, trying to police a little bit, but I mean, you want the USL says that it's a strict protocol. And so to me, like, then don't pan the camera on things that aren't strict protocol at the time because, like, that isn't making the situation any better. And that's how things get shut down. That's how our governor will see things and be like, oh, well, I saw y'all on the CW last week and y'all were, like, hella close and nobody had masks on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not, so I just care that, if the USL is talking about strict protocol, that they got to do something. They got to make sure that that's tight because, it just can't be like a good moment or a happy feeling,
Yeah, and then there was people all over social media about the game when we played against the Switchbacks on Saturday. They're saying, I thought no fans were allowed, and Michelle, do this, Michelle, do that. And I was like, wrong governor, wrong state.
Right, exactly. I mean, it was Colorado Springs, you know what I mean? Like, and, here's a place that, last year, if you were a New Mexico United fan, I mean, you pretty much should have just, got whatever little loyalty cards at the little Dutch Bros coffee place because we were up there so much. I mean, they played 2 times. They played 1 time during the season. They played the other time for the Open Cup, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's those 2 instances, and then went back up there for Colorado Rapids for the Open Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like three times up there in Colorado last year. You know, of course, the 1 time down here. So, you know, going into this match, you know, they're saying the all-time record of Colorado Springs is 3-0. You know, in the head-to-head series. So initially, you know, I remember when I had previewed this when I did the 1v1. You know, I was talking about how this wasn't the same Colorado Springs team. You know, I was talking about how they had Rapids players on their team, how their goalkeeper was from the MLS, and you know, they pretty much just, you know, added some like really super studs on the team between Aiden Daniels and Valesky, who I thought was looking pretty dangerous. But going into this match, like, you know, knowing that much, like what were some of your thoughts about the match? What things did you think prior to play?
Prior to the game, I was thinking, you know, it's the same teams last year. We're probably gonna win, so I'm not worried.
Okay.
And then comes the game, and I'm wrong. I see how you were saying Daniel's up in the front, and I'm like, okay. Well, and then they didn't have their little 16-year-old goalie, and I was like, okay, well, this is a little different.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, I was reading on. So I'm also getting the media distribution for Colorado Springs as well, which I forwarded to you guys. And so, you know, I was reading on some of their pre-match notes and, you know, trying to watch some interviews, and you know, they were saying that they pretty much watched the Austin match with New Mexico when COVID and the quarantine started, and you know, so they were trying to prepare for what they saw in Austin, you know, and lo and behold, when we came into this match, the lineup was a little different than what we experienced in Austin, right? I mean, they weren't lined up in what looked like a 4-4-2 as in Austin. They were lined up in a 4-2-3-1. What did you think about the lineup initially when you saw the graphic for the team? You know, we had Sam Hamilton back there. What did you think about the back line with Austin Yearwood, Sam Hamilton, and then, of course, Ryden and Padilla?
I was pretty much okay with it, but then I was trying to look for the injury report. I couldn't find it, so I didn't know if Suggs and Tete and Schmidt were hurt. So I don't know if you know anything about that.
Yeah, so Schmidt and Tete were hurt. They did come out on an injury graphic a little bit later, maybe from when initially they posted the team graphic, and so they were hurt. But Suggs wasn't on there, and sitting in a press conference with the team, they had spoke that Suggs' injury was maybe a little bit different than Schmidt and Tete, but that, you know, they're kind of, I guess, going through the cycle of recovering soon, so they're kind of rehabilitating. So it didn't sound like from Coach that we would see them in this match coming up. I didn't necessarily get that indication, but you know, it did sound like they were getting better day by day. So that's kind of one thing. And I mean, so let's speak about like the back line, right? Like now through 2 matches, we haven't necessarily had the ideal back line. And I guess I shouldn't say the ideal, but I should say my thought of the back line is Suggs on the left fullback, Kalen Ryden on the left center back, Tete on the right center back, and then Manny Padilla on the right fullback.
Yeah.
Like that's my idea of our back line.
Yeah, no, that's mine too. That's like a perfect one right there.
Right. And so that being said, in Austin, we didn't have Yearwood, Suggs, and Tete, right? So in Austin, it was like we moved Ryden over to the right side because he was able to play either center back, and we put we put Schmidt in the left center back because that's the position he plays. You know, which to me, we didn't really talk about it, but I'm surprised that Troy moved him over or moved Kalen over into the right, because all we saw Schmidt doing was playing the right when they were in the inter squad scrimmage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
do.
so we had only we saw him trying to play this other position, because that's probably going to be the way he was going to get minutes, was to kind of compete for Tete's spot, right? But as it is, in this match in Colorado Springs, he was back, or he wasn't in the lineup. So Ryden's back in his spot, and Sam Hamilton's in the back. How did you think that Sam Hamilton played in the back line? Because if you remember, he kind of was competing in that spot in the beginning with Tete last year.
I think he did great. I didn't have an issue with him in the way he played. He had some great saves in the back, and I don't have an issue with Sam Hamilton in this past game.
Yeah, I thought that there was a little bit of a scare that our team got, because, as Manny was going up the right side, he likes to go up, he likes to play the side, and he can send those long crosses down the way, which is obviously a bonus for our team. But at the same time, Colorado Springs was really trying to put that ball out there in the wings, you know what I mean? Like on the top left and right. And I thought, well, it was a good thing that Sam Hamilton stayed home, because he was able to basically mark the guy that was coming up the left side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's sometimes with that we had. It's because the way Manny plays, he's more of an attacking defender. With, like you said, it goes in a positive direction for us, but sometimes I feel like he plays a little too high,
right,
to where it pulls our midfielders out of position, having to drop back to Manny's side, because we're in danger. And then where does that put us? Our midfield is wide open.
right.
So that's why we really need to watch how high these defenders go up to help us.
Well, and then look at the first 30 minutes of the match, or not even the first 30, we'll just say the first 15 for the matter. It was how much space did we give them right there between the mid and the defenders? Like they were easily getting in there, because we were so spread out, and we allowed them to come down there as much. Earlier on, I'm surprised, when I'm watching this, thinking okay, we have allowed them to be in the attacking third so soon into the match. We need to move the back line up. We need to push up some, you know what I mean? And we need to, send the ball around. But that's just the formation we were in. We were in a 4-2-3-1 when we were on defense most of the time. And then, of course, whenever we did go on offense, so to say, or on the attack, rather, we were transitioning into a 3-4-3. And so that's where Manny would push up, and you would see that 3-4-3 formation kind of develop.
Yeah, definitely. For the lineup, what did you think of the mid?
Of the mid, so I know immediately we had Juan Pablo Guzman and Salim Mohammed. So then we had them.
And then on the left, I believe, was Najem.
Right, Najem.
And then on the right, we had Moreno.
Right. Yes, exactly. What did I think about that lineup? Well, I liked having Guzman and Mohammed where they were positioned, because they give quality touches between the two of them. And we saw it. Their passing was crisp to each other, but they're also able to obviously circulate the ball backwards if it needs to go backwards. And we also saw them being able to circulate it forward as well. So I think that those are the two people you want to be there when it comes to the ball rotation, especially in a formation like that. As far as Najem up in mid, I thought that was interesting to see him there, because In Austin he played left back, and he doesn't have a lot of size, right? But he's very fast, and he's got good defensive skills. But he can also obviously serve the ball in. So I thought that that was a strength to have him up top. I thought that he'll be able to feed both Devin and Weehan through the match. With Armando Marino, I liked the prospect of him being on that side because I think that whenever he and Manny are aligned like the way they are, they work off of each other. So sometimes like Armando would drop back and Manny would go all the way up to the top and then be serving up across, or so that sort of tandem exists with those two. But I also like the fact that he was up there just because that's one more person who was able to take the shot as well. And so I liked that configuration. I kind of thought that maybe I would see Sergi or Romeo Parks initially before the match started, before the graphic came out. But I mean, I'm happy with Weehan and Devin being in there because I thought that was a strong setup for us.
Yeah, I really like the lineup for the midfield. Like you said, it was interesting to see Najem on the left. I wasn't expecting that at all, like whatsoever. So I really liked that. I liked how he played. He controlled it well. There was some kind of like iffy moments, but other than that, I think he did good. And we might see him start in the back from now on.
Mm-hmm.
And with Moreno, it's just we're gonna need him up top. Like he's one of those that he has the finish, he has the dribbling skills. So he's one of our, like, how do you say, like, our hidden treasure.
Right, like he's definitely like a diamond in the rough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So then let's just kind of talk about like the goal, right? Let's talk about some of the build-up. So, of course, we're talking about the Salim Muhammad goal. Like, if you're tired of hearing about it, too bad, right? Because we're still talking about it. So going into that, Juan Pablo Guzman sends it to Salih, and then Salih sends it up to Devin, right? So to me, I thought that through pass to Devin, where it's like right in front of him, was so crisp. Like, it was so nonchalant when Salih just took that ball when he got the pass back from Juan Pablo Guzman, and then just sent it right in front of Devin, and for a nice like one-time shot.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, that through ball to Devin, that's how you knew we were starting to create chances. And I thought that was gonna go in from Devin. I had no worry that it wasn't. But then bounced off of the goalie. Here comes Salih, times it perfectly in the air for a volley, kicks it, back of the net.
Right, and I thought the play was dead. I thought when Devin kicked the ball and it went against Sean Melvin, and I thought that the play had stopped because it just seemed like everyone stopped moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then this ball was like, it just came back like in a rainbow, like, and then Salih just like throws out his right boot and just puts it right in. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's why you keep playing until the whistle's blown.
Yes. As a player, you should always play until that whistle is blown because you never know what can happen. For example, like Salih's goal, he played because he didn't hear anything, and look what happened. What, like, his first professional goal, that goal was, I have no words for it. It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I posted the link to his goal on Instagram through the Seek and Strike, and it was really cool to see all the different people's comments about what they would call the goal. And, I had to make sure that I shared them back through so that, the club could see it, but, they could show it to him or whatever. But it just that was just an amazing goal altogether. And it what was cool about it is like there was intent there. It wasn't like last year when we played Phoenix and Calistri had those cross balls that went in, and it was like, well, those weren't intentional, but they were cool looking. It just was crazy that they went in. But here it is, like Salik continued to play, and the goals went in. So to me, like I'm thinking when that goes in, that his mouth just drops. Like, we saw him immediately turn around and run to the bench and go and like get props from the bench and then, come back to the crew. And he was kind of calm and reserved. But I was so excited for him. And when I watched it again today, I just couldn't help but think, oh my gosh, like right on, Salih, like that was just so incredible,
Yeah, no, I am not going to lie. I watched Salih's goal. I'm not kidding you, at least 50 times.
Okay.
I cannot get over it. It's I just can't. Like, I have no words for it. And the fact that in the morning, my brother, he doesn't have ESPN Plus, but he didn't watch the game either. So he was like, did you see United's goal? And I was like, you didn't watch the game? Like, they showed it on ESPN this morning. I was like,
oh,
what?
Nice. Did it get number 1? Was it like one of those countdown things?
Yeah, it was one of the countdowns, but I didn't ask him what number it was.
Yeah, see, that's cool because I think I've also probably watched it about 50 times, if not more. I just, I thought to myself, man, Josh Lane, tell me that you somehow took a 60 frames per minute shot of the ball hitting a shoe going in, because that would be this amazing sort of thing, like this progression, because as it was, I mean, I thought, okay, maybe, and then the score didn't come on. I thought, okay, well, was Devin
I thought it didn't count, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, was Devin offsides? But then when I watched it back, I was like, no, because the other player went behind the goalkeeper, so Devin would be onside at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I just think that he ran back because he realized that the ball was coming back at a rapid rate, and the goalkeeper was just like, he just kind of like watched it go right by him.
Yeah, and as a keeper, I can tell you, he probably thought it was going over the goal. And that's why he didn't run towards it, or he just watched it. And then he was like that and started blaming his defenders because he didn't want to look stupid.
Right, and I mean, to that fact, I mean, there were some balls that were high and wide, right? Like, I mean, like Chris Wehan kicked the ball, and it was like it had so much flight on it, it just flew right over the goal and Devin. And so, when they can hone in on those kicks, I think those balls are going to go like in places in the net where the keeper can't grab them. But definitely, what we can say really about the first 30 minutes of that match is that United came out so differently. Like now in 2 matches, they have come out like with authority.
Mm-hmm. You know what I noticed?
What'd you notice?
You remember how last season, well, like, I know I would say that second half, we would always die down.
Right.
That's when we give up. This game, I didn't notice that. They still kept up the same energy. They didn't do more, which I would have liked, but they kept it there. They kept going and going and going. They never stopped until the last whistle was blown.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing about United this year is that they're playing a full 90, and to watch them come out of the gate like that. I mean, we were already, here it is. Here's our first game. We're ready. But it was like to watch them come right out and just hammering it through, just give it to them. Like, to see Chris Wehan come out and command like the pitch to his feet, to see Devin Sandoval like, just with his speed and just his precision, like. This is like a different team, like a second-year team that believes, and given the new additions that we're still waiting to see them obviously open their account with the club and get their goals and whatnot, and what that's going to be like. But they looked a little bit more together this match than in Austin.
Yes, they did. I felt like they clicked more as a team this match because they were communicating, and even though sometimes there was mess ups, you can tell like, hey, like they went up to each other and they were telling each other something, and they fixed it, and it didn't happen again.
Right. And so Colorado Springs eventually does equalize. Aiden Daniels gets in behind our midfield and just throws down this like crazy rocketed goal that hits off of the far side post and then rolls in. Did you have any thoughts there? I thought that the goal was going to come sooner for them because I felt like they weren't really spotting like Christian Valesky a whole lot, and Luna and Labisi were like always getting in behind them. So I felt like maybe a goal or two would have come in a lot sooner because, for one thing, Cody was playing in a very shaded area, and I think that was knocking off his perception because he was jumping at balls that were not even close.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna score sooner in the first half. There was some scary moments where I thought we were gonna be down by 1 or 2. It was definitely a different switchback team from last year. They have very strong players that they're young and they're going at it 110%. They're not stopping and they are hungry for that win. And
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say is that when it's 1-1 with switchbacks, I know it's not the same team as last year, but I was thinking this and I talked to someone the other day and I said like, is Colorado a team where we should not even be close to them? And I would obviously last year we would say last year's version of switchbacks and this year's squad for New Mexico, there should be no way that we're losing or that we're sitting in a tie because, the talent difference and whatnot. But this year it's a different squad. So I don't know. It might not be. I don't know that I could say, oh, well, I can't believe we're tied with these guys. I don't know if it's a standard yet to say, well, this is switchbacks. We should never be losing to the switchbacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like with Sacramento and Tacoma Defiance. They tied.
Right.
3-3.
And you should never.
Yeah, no, and they were dead bottom of the table last season. So you never know what can happen.
Yeah, and I mean, we're still trying to figure it out, this Group C. I mean, it's just a very interesting thing. I mean, obviously it's been called the group of death as far as like the fact that at least 3 of the teams now are obviously showing poise and there's only 2 spots, and, if Real Monarch, like they're not out of it. Like, we thought last year, I think that certain teams were out of the table because it seemed like, oh, well, they haven't won a few or whatever. But I mean, we're just talking 3 points to get back into consideration. And all it takes is a loss or a draw from New Mexico or Colorado to allow Real Monarch to you know what I mean? Like all they need is a win to be like right back in a conversation.
Yeah.
Not much has gone by.
No, it's still way too early to start predicting the champion, who's going to make it a playoffs and stuff, because right now they can be starting strong, but at the end, if they're burnt out, it's not going to, what they did at the beginning, it's not going to matter.
Now, the one thing that we can say that's good about this year versus last season is that we're not going to have another competition in the middle of our season. So it's not like they're now playing Open Cup, you know what I mean? And so they have to deal with that. Like, this is full focus. So, I mean, now there would be – and we know that the club, North Troy, they never, ever made playing in the Open Cup an excuse for why they finished where they finished. Like, like they wanted to do both. And, and we did. So we know that it's not that, so to say. But now that they have a little bit more depth and they have, they've got some different aspects for this team. So what did you think about? Let's kind of go up to. Did you see? Did you happen to see the part of the match where George Labisse apparently like Labisse he scores a goal, like he gets in right behind Cody?
Yeah, I watched that actually earlier today. I kept going back and back and back, pausing every single frame to
Okay.
see if he was offsides. To
So
me,
what's your verdict? What do you think?
he wasn't. He was not offsides. I don't know what the linesman saw, but he was not even offsides, not even by a hair. He was dead on sides.
Yeah, I do. When I saw it, I agree with you too. I was like, wait, this guy's onside. Like, you mean he was in front of Cody? Like it was, you know what I mean? Like, and even so, like he wasn't. From where I saw it, I watched it a couple times, and I was like, he's not offside. Like he totally isn't offside. You know, and so it's crazy that he didn't get it. But again, maybe they saw something different on the side. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
what you see in person is very different from what you see on TV. So that's another thing too. It's the angles that the camera's showing that it shows that he's on sides, but you don't know
right?
because
Exactly.
Kalen put his hand up and then Cody put his hand up, and so I don't know.
Yeah, it's it's crazy. And so then let's go. Let's talk about Chris Wehan's goal, right? So Chris Wehan gets his goal. I gotta say it. Chris Wehan gets the ball, dribbles, does the shimmy shake, where he just kind of his arms go limp and he just kind of like throws the head fake on a defender, and then I didn't know what he was gonna do though. I didn't know if he was gonna pass to Romeo, who I felt like Romeo was definitely like very physical this match. He was getting the body on people. He was creating separation between him and the ball and creating lanes for other people to like go through. I thought he was going to pass it, but I was very surprised when he took the shot, and I don't know if it was intentional for him to like shoot it in a way where it was just kind of a scuttling pat or a scuttling shot. Like I think the announcer called it a worm burner, uh, but I don't know if that was his intention to make sure it went in versus kicking it high. But I thought it was a good shot.
Yeah, it was a good shot, and I'm glad we got back on top because of bees. But all the defenders were kind of coming on to him, and that's where like, oh my God, we have Romeo wide open. Just pass it to Romeo, so it's a for sure goal. And that's the one thing that kind of like made me nervous is how much our wings are open,
Mm-hmm.
and no one seems to notice that, and they take it through the middle and shoot, and it's a miss. When our wings are wide open, and if it's just a touch to them, they touch it in, and it's a goal for us.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was cool that he made that, and I felt like the Chris Wehan we're seeing this year, um, he he's more, how do I put it, like his demeanor is different this year, and I really did feel like when I see him and Devin out there, and they just really jive together, and they did last season too, and I just almost kind of feel like, and this can be kind of crazy to you, but I know we lost like Santi and Frater, so to say, but I mean, when I look at Wehan and Devin, like I see like I see the new replacement for like Santi and Frater. Like I know that like we got Amando and Romeo, and those seem like evident like replacement parts, and maybe they are to some people, but I feel like the new sheriffs up front are like Devin and Chris, and I feel like it is very evident like in their leadership skills, you know, and I feel like everyone else is I feel like people know it, but it's not like something that's super bad. Like everyone's completely fine with those two like taking the helm, you know?
Yeah, no, and I see that too because I look at the way Bees has been playing and how much he has progressed from last season, and I get scared that he's gonna get taken away from us next season.
Right. Well,
he's truly someone that like is kind of like not spoken about technically. They're all about like the new faces, like how you said, like Moreno, or they're about Cody and Devin, but never really about Wehan.
yeah, and that's pretty much true to the testimony he's told us, like on the podcast when he was like, no one was scouting him, and UNM, no one really like he went there because Coach Fishbein was like, hey, we like you, and he was like he felt like wanted somewhere, so he went there, and I mean, the same thing, like Reno or San Jose, Reno didn't re-sign him, so he heard about this like tryout and roll down, so I think that we definitely got something with Chris and with Devin up top. So do you want to like move into like El Paso now, like this? I mean, I'm glad we got the win. I guess my final thought about, and I want to get your final thought about Colorado for now, but my final thought for Colorado for now really is like, it was great that we got the win. I will say that if this was last year, it probably would have been a draw or a loss. And Troy has even now said this like at least a couple times on different like mediums, like on a press conference and then on the first call-in show. He said he felt like maybe last year this would have been a different result. I'm happy they got points on the road, because the one thing is that last year they were 5-7-5 on the road, and so they only won like 30% of their games, but they got points out of 58% of their games, so to say. So it's like right now we're like we have gotten half the points basically. We're 50% out there.
Yeah, no, I agree. This team is a very different team from last year. I could have probably seen I could have seen a loss if this was last year's squad against this year's Switchbacks. It's hard to tell because last year we weren't playing the full 90 like we are right now.
That's true. You're right, because it was always a matter of getting up in the first half and then like parking the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, the great thing here is that we've got 3 more matches against Colorado Springs. Honestly, I think that match between the teams is going to heat up. I remember last year it did an Open Cup because they were so upset about losing twice. But but I mean, like, I believe that it's going to heat up for sure. So let's get into our preview for El Paso and New Mexico. The match is tomorrow at the SWUP at the Southwest University Plaza, and I've heard it's pretty hot out there. Like, apparently, their match the other night with RGV, it was 104 degrees, but it felt like 99.
Jeez, that's insane. I can't imagine playing that well. Then I can, but as long as they're not playing on turf in that heat, everything's all good.
Well, you expect them to probably water the lawn like they did last year, right? So people are going to be slipping around or things like that. So let's first talk about El Paso. I got to watch their match against Rio Grande Valley FC the other day, and I watched it a little bit today as well. And some of my initial thoughts about El Paso were that they seemed very like new up front and in the midfield. Like they have Omar Salgado still, but like they seems very new up front as far as new to the roster. I noticed that they did re-sign 14 players, but it seems like the majority of the players that they re-signed are either midfielders or they're defenders, and the majority are probably defenders.
Mm-hmm.
So my initial thought was, if they're so kind of green up front, then they're still trying to figure out what works up front.
Yeah. And they just recently signed a forward, too, because he's from FC Juarez. So I think with Jerome Keysweater leaving, it kind of hurt them because they don't have their go-to guy up front.
Right, and they have suffered a little bit of misfortune because They had also lost Seb Velasquez
And Bugatti or something like that.
and Alexi Bozzetti as well.
Yeah.
So they have been losing pieces that ultimately would allow them to score. And I know before I started watching, I thought, well, who do they have up front to score? Like where are their scores going to come from? Jeremy Hadamio, who we've had on the show a couple times, he kept saying that I should watch the match and I'd be surprised to see where their scores were going to come from. But what I noticed is that they do play in like a 4-4-2 with a diamond in the middle. Through the two matches they've played, for the most part, they've had their new guys playing in the diamond, and then they have usually subbed in their veteran players to kind of fill out the diamond or kind of, relieve some of the defense, the defenders rather. And they have this guy on the team. He's a forward. His name is Mario Slomas, and he played at North Carolina FC. And in the press conference with Troy said that he actually has seen Lomas before because he played against him when Troy was coaching at Charlotte. So he says that, he's got some size and a little bit of speed, and that, they're obviously planning to kind of focus on him a little bit. Like they definitely are trying to address him as a threat as well. And I didn't get a chance to ask him about, what he thought about this sort of built-in chemistry between all the FC Juarez players, because there's three. And, there's also Gomez, who's up top, who's from there as well. And so for the most part, when I watched the match, like the score that they had, they won 1-0 over RGV. The score they had was essentially a play that was built from the back. They were already in a high press situation. The ball came in, hit off of just Del Zola, who then essentially, passed it over to Dylan Maris, and then he headed the ball in. And so that was their score. But what I took away from that was that all of their shots in the match, because they had 12 shots and 6 were on target, all of their shots in the match were outside of the box. Like they couldn't get inside for most of the game. So whatever RGV was doing, they were, obviously keeping their mid and back line very solid. They couldn't get close enough to take a clear shot until they started sending balls in the air.
Yeah, it's the way that they've been playing. They play really tight in the middle. They don't really focus on the wings, and that's where we're gonna have to watch it, because how we played against Colorado Springs, we left the middle open a lot of the time, and we can't do that tomorrow. Like absolutely not, because it's going to cost us the game. So we really need to, like, pinch in, defend, and for us, we can have the advantage of playing the long ball because they're all going to be in the middle.
Right, that's right. Because, if they come out in a diamond tomorrow, for the most part, they tried to keep that shape. They tried to keep that diamond, and they used it, to trap, to follow the ball, to play the ball. But they pretty much kept that shape throughout the time. What they did in their back line is they brought up their two fullbacks, to about mid-pitch, mid-field, center field or whatever, and they basically just had this sort of high and wide setup, so they could send the ball out to either fullback and then into the diamond at times. And they were even trying to send their forwards up, and obviously try to play balls onside and then get that extra step, and it didn't really prove to be successful until towards like the second half of the match, when they seemed to have a little bit more energy and they started to throw the ball into like the top left or right side, and that concerns me only because I know we go into a 3-4-3 when we're on offense, but if we're not back quick enough on a transition, it seems like we might leave the top left open. Because I know Richie Ryan was really feeding Nick Ross a lot of balls up there up top.
Yeah, and so was Zola in the midfield. He was feeding them like crazy to the top, and we're gonna either, I'd say Kalen or whoever else is in that center back, they're gonna have to be on him like a leech.
Yeah, because Zola was finding his way into the middle. When he first got on, he was like sending these balls like they were like crosses, but he was like kicking them kind of weird,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a weird sort of crouching kick. But
Mm-hmm.
he was finding his way into it all, and so But what I saw them for the most part is like, well, they have a very veteran D line or defending back line, and so for us with Chris Wehan, Devin, like I feel like Troy is going to have to throw numbers at that back line, and since we like to run a lot of things centrally up the middle, I'm just wondering if a fourth. Well, we know he goes into a 3-4-3, but I wonder if he'll still use a formation like that, or if the 4-2-3-1 at times will seem like a 4-4-2. Like, you know what I mean? Like how he'll use it more or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
So yeah, I felt like with El Paso they could be dangerous if they get in behind our midfield, because that's where they do crosses and that's where set pieces come in quite a bit. Actually, we know they got Mishak Jerome, who apparently can kick from like 40 yards out and has
Yeah.
like a bit of a boot to him. So to me, like I think that if there are points to be made for tomorrow's match, it's they need to have possession, because El Paso controlled possession much of the second half. I don't think we had as much possession with Colorado because we were taking many shots, and we were not necessarily holding the ball or moving it around as much. Like we were trying to do something with it quicker. You know what I mean? And then we were defending many opportunities. So that's my thought: is possession is going to be an issue tomorrow. Conditioning is going to be an issue tomorrow. Because I know today Kalen Ryden said that no one is match 90. He says that no one is at that point because they've been off so much and at home so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then to me, like, I think that in order for them to get scores, like they're going to have to get behind that veteran defending line. So that means that they're going to have to figure out how to pull them out of a formation.
Yep.
What's your thought? Like, what other things do you think come into play? I don't know if the newest FC Juarez player will be available to play as soon as tomorrow, but what are your thoughts on either Borelli, his impacts?
Well, I was looking at the stats, and I don't think I saw him play against RGV. I could be wrong.
No,
But
he didn't play enough.
yeah, but I don't see them playing tomorrow. If Borelli didn't play against RGV, I don't see what is the other one? I think it's like Garrijo or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Yeah, I don't see him playing tomorrow. I'm 50-50 about Borelli. Maybe so, since he didn't play on Saturday. He might get to play this match, but I don't know. And if it's going to be their first game playing, I don't know how that chemistry is going to be, because I know from those two players, from watching them in FC Juarez, Garijo, he's a really great forward. So if he does play, he is someone that we really have to watch out for. And with Borelli, I think he's kind of mediocre defender, like so, but he did come from the Liga MX, so probably has a little bit more talent than those in the USL right now.
Okay. So let's then talk about our half of that. So, as we go into the match tomorrow, we've kind of talked about it a little bit when we talked about Colorado Springs. There is one thing that's going to be kind of a cool stoke. We'll obviously just go ahead and throw it out there now for those that are hearing it. But we did find out today in the press conference that Joe Reese at Livni will actually be available tomorrow. It's a possibility that he could be in the match day 18.
Oh man, I want to see him out there.
Yeah, he did. Like Troy did say that, because obviously he had just gotten to the States and whatnot, but he did say that he will be on that trip. So, so to me, I'm thinking if he's going, I'm hoping that he's going to be in that match day 18.
Well, I could see him playing as a left wing and then moving Najem to a right back defender.
Right. Because we do know, and of course that that Manny Padilla will not be able to play in certain matches just with the certain things that are going on right now with the team.
Mm-hmm.
For more of that, you can obviously check the team statement lately. But so a question was even asked in here that with Manny being out, like who do you put on the right? So I think that you kind of answered that question, that you could put in a David Najum back there on the right,
Mm-hmm.
as well as you could even probably. I think I vaguely remember Austin Yearwood playing a right back once or twice last year, but I think that that's probably a possibility as well.
Yeah. Sorry about that, but yeah, I can. I kind of can see Yearwood on the right back, but if Suggs is still out, it's gonna be Yearwood, Kalen. I'm not sure if how Schmidt and Tete are doing, but I'm gonna keep it Sam and then Najem.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that too. I could definitely see that, and I know that Troy is definitely looking for like mismatches and such like that. So he's definitely probably going to wait to see like how they come out or what they reveal as a graphic. I looked at their first match against Orange County, and the graphic they released as a team seemed like a straight 4-4-2. It didn't seem like a diamond on that. So, from what I could see, so I'm sure there's going to be some different looks on it, nonetheless. Who do you have as a standout player for New Mexico? Who are you thinking are our players to watch this week?
This week
or this match rather.
This match. I want to say Bees. Okay. That's going to be one for sure to watch. And I can't really think of anyone else to watch. Kalen has been doing like amazing straight from the get-go. So I can't really say him either because, since day one here from New Mexico, he's been on it, and he hasn't given us a reason to doubt him in the back line.
Right. I agree. I definitely will agree with you. I think that Bees is certainly a player to watch. I just think that match to match, he continues to show us that sort of aggressiveness. He is, he's just coming out and he's kind of just showing this authority. His execution is very sharp. So I definitely do think Bees is someone to watch tomorrow. I honestly think that Armando Moreno is going to break out. I feel like tomorrow might be the sort of match that he breaks out as, and could it? I don't know if it's because I feel like it's because of the different leagues he's played in, and to play against guys who've played, FC Juarez, and he's obviously played. I know he's played something else besides Chicago Fire. That I feel like there's that sort of competition that happens. I feel like Romeo Park, having played, in like Aperturas and Clausuras, I feel like, you know what I mean? Like there's a certain sort of competition, like when you're playing against another guy who's also played in Liga MX.
Yeah, I can see it. Moreno did play for the Cholos, and he also played for, I think it's the Dorados, or I
you're right.
think, yes. So I can probably see him going in there, like, oh, well, they just played for FC Juarez, and just them, I'm better than them. I played with two teams. I went to the MLS and then came down to the USL. What experience do they have? They don't have anything like mine.
Right, and so that's why I'm hoping that it's going to be that sort of experience that's going to ultimately allow him to really turn up his game, because I really want to see it. And and I like we're saying, like, they're playing wings, right? So like I want to see the wings happen. Like last year when we had Santi, we could always count on them doubling Santi on the left wing because they knew he was dangerous from that side. He could hook a ball in, and that created things for us in the middle. So I'm hoping that we can kind of spread out the three of the 4-2-3-1, that we can kind of draw defenders out, especially with El Paso. They're already going to be playing two in the back with two up the sides. So they're already going to be kind of spread out. I think it's going to create an opportunity for us to put balls in strange places and be able to create chances for guys.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think tomorrow what we're really going to focus on is playing the long ball and not so much in the middle.
Right. Okay. I like that. So then let's talk. Let's move into. Well, I guess let's do our score prediction. Right. I had it like at the end, but we can do it now. What is your score prediction for tomorrow? And you can even go as far as naming whoever might score your goals.
Man, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go with 1-0 United.
Okay.
And as far as who scores it, geez, it's gonna be between Bees and Moreno. One of them two. I just don't know who.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely have a good feeling about them getting points on the road. I think they get the win. The reason why I think that is because El Paso, for whatever reason, it seems like there's always a New Mexico edge over El Paso. And I've been trying to explain this to someone, but like, it seems like when New Mexico sports come into like El Paso, Texas sports or things like that, it seems like maybe the folks that are like in El Paso feel like, oh, the New Mexico people feel like they're better than us. And there's some sort of arrogance that comes from our teams to theirs, but they just seem like they play like they're inferior to us, or that they have more to prove or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then our team comes in just regular with more of the mental edge, because it's like, well, it's New Mexico. It's big bad New Mexico United with these yellow uniforms and 14,000 screaming fans and a giant supporters group that follows. And gosh, tomorrow we don't have a supporter group that's going to follow. You know what I mean? Like, we don't, like, it's such a different circumstance. Like, they might feel like things are a little level now because of what the circumstance is. And they had those cardboard cutouts in their supporter section.
They had like 10 of them.
Right. And I don't know if they're going to have fans tomorrow. I'm going to check after this podcast. But I'm going to say I think that we win the match. And I feel like it's a 2-1 win. I like 2-1 again. I think that we get the first score. But sadly to say, typically when we've gotten a score, we seem to let one in because it seems like, we're still pretty elated that we got the score, and then something else lets in. Like, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, they get a point somehow. I feel like Ryan Williams, if you can believe that, will have some play in tomorrow's match, because he did get that header last year.
Yeah, he did.
That tied the match, but I feel like Bees gets a goal because I got him on a tight goal program. He's got to get a goal a match now. I got him for that 15 goal program, but so I think he gets one, and then I think I think Amando gets a goal, and I think Ryan Williams has something to say about it.
Man, I want Sergei to get a goal.
Yeah, I definitely do too, right? Like, I hope that they start scoring more goals so we have more people to guess who we're going to score.
Yeah, and too, in the midfield, I was just thinking like our straight center midfields there. It's Guzman. Sometimes we'll see Ryan in there and Salih. But who I want to see more of, who kind of does control the midfield pretty well, is Tenari.
Okay.
I really want to see more of him in there.
Yeah, I think you're right. We need to see more of our new guys because, I mean, for the most part, when we had our guys last year, I mean, we thought those were going to be our guys this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's these new guys, new numbers on the kits. And, like, I want to see more of all of them too because, like, we need to spread it out. We have our go-tos, but it'll be nice to kind of see the full team doing their thing. So, okay, well, I like that. And then, so let's talk about Group C just a little bit then. Just a Group C update. Currently, El Paso is in first place with 4 points with their win over Rio Grande Valley FC. We're in second place, tied with second place with Colorado Springs, obviously having the win over them. And Colorado Springs having 3 points from their win over OKC. Real Monarchs are sitting in last place with 0 points from their 1-0 loss to San Diego Loyal. And I have to say that I didn't pick Loyal to win that match. I actually thought that it was going to be a 0-0 draw just because I felt like, well, we got the defending champions and we got this new club that's trying to kind of come about. But they are able to get a goal on them in the first 20 minutes and, pretty much play solid ball the rest of the time. So, I don't know. Like, are you surprised that Real Monarch is, like, sitting with 0 points after 2 matches?
Very surprised considering they are, like, reigning champions. You would expect them to play better trying to keep that title. But it's really surprising to see that they're sitting on the table with no points.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I might be a little concerned about them if after 2 more competitions they don't have any points. Then to me, like, I would feel like they're going to have to start making some moves because whatever they're doing wouldn't be working at that point. So then, all right, so then that's the table currently. If we get the win, if New Mexico gets the win tomorrow, that'll put us at 6 points, El Paso at 4. Colorado and Real Monarchs play on Saturday. So obviously, if Colorado gets that win, that puts them at 6. So potentially, depending on tomorrow's result and Colorado's result, there's still possibilities of a 2-way tie. If we only earn a point tomorrow, then essentially El Paso's still kind of sitting in that top spot on the table, and maybe the only other person who can have a say at it is Colorado Springs if Real Monarchs doesn't show up.
Yeah.
But like you said earlier on, and you said it's too early for us to be able to really talk about who's going to win it all. So, I think if you're a fan, yes, keep track of the table. It matters a little bit. What you really care about if you're a fan is you care about some separation in the points. Last year, Western Conference was about 1 to 2 point difference, and we need to see a little separation to really be able to have these conversations this earlier on. For now, we're focused on what New Mexico needs to do to get these 3 points, as Troy would say, and and that's pretty much where it's at. So, is there anything else that you want to maybe say as we start to wrap this up in the next couple of minutes?
No, not really. Other than besides soccer, wear your mask, please.
That's right.
You want to get fully shut down again, so please wear your mask. But I can't wait till tomorrow and see what it brings.
Right on. Yeah, wear your mask, wash your hands, right? Like,
yes.
We shouldn't have to tell you this. You already know this. But
yes, we're not in kindergarten, guys.
Right. We thank everyone for tuning in, for clicking the article put out by Josh Kaskinen. He is currently working on the preview for El Paso, so anything that we didn't cover, we know Josh will cover it. So we'll have that preview for you either later this evening or first thing in the morning. So we'll definitely post it out there in the social medias. Thank you for clicking into this podcast. It will be available, obviously, if you want to go back and rewatch and see what you missed. Consider subscribing to our YouTube channel at Seek and Strike Collective. We're trying to build our viewership there. And, also share this with your friends, so that they can also watch this podcast. It comes out in audio form on iTunes and Spotify and other podcasts as well. Slight admission, I have to upload 3 other episodes. So tomorrow your platform is gonna soar with like 4 new episodes that you get to listen to. But I did it for you, and so that's all we got. Alicia, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter. The handle is on the screen, exclusive_Alicia, and Instagram. It's the same handle. And you guys could also find me on Facebook under Alicia Arias.
Right on. And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram under by Chris Walker. Twitter, I'm talking sports, talking different sports. And Instagram, I might be showing you music or some latest hobby or some juice that I made. You never know. And you can also find me on Facebook under Christopher M. Walker. Well, this has been another episode of We Are Seek and Strike podcast. For Alicia and myself, Chris Walker, and Josh Kaskinen, who is not with us at the moment, we are out of here, and we'll see you next time.